Hello everybody. Welcome back. This is Great Entertainer, and I'm here to entertain all of you as always. I was checking Reddit and I thought, why not make a video about creepypastas? You've made many scary videos. 2 videos. Whatever. And why not? So let's just go on with this. So I found this one that's called The Death for some reason or something. I don't know. I hope it's weird. No, I hope it's not too weird because I'll get myself a strike or something. So let me start. Medicine and science have been at the forefront of humans' progress into prosperity and long life. Since the first human picked up a rock and used it to kill its food. Over time, our species went from hunting and gathering tribes to the most dominant organism on Earth, save for bacteria, whatever. It was through that progress would be never ending and it was thought. And life everlasting would be our greatest achievement. This message was sent at great cost and even greater risk. We are writing from a time where all of the universe's secrets are known to us. This year, as described by Earth, however, is not known to us any longer. Though the age of the universe, beginning from its birth around 20 billion years, approximately 2 billion years ago, our neighboring galaxy collided with our own, and gravity shifts caused Earth to fall into its own sun zone, and 500,000 years later, the collision with Andromeda is not what I have sent this message to warn of. However, I have sent this message 6.228 billion years into the past in order to warn of a great mistake that in your time will be made very soon. This mistake is now known as the single greatest error humanity has committed. This mistake is not something that will cause the extinction of mankind, but rather the opposite. We are still not certain how exactly, but it seems that the very force that causes life to become death has ceased. What do you mean, creepypasta writer? I cannot understand. My brain can't understand this. I belong to a group that believes this message may be our only hope. In my time, humans and other intelligent life cover the entire universe. To avoid heat death, we managed to stop the universe expansion and created more order in cosmos. Suffering of nearly all commonly known kinds has been eliminated. War, poverty, famine, sickness, insanity, and pain are extinct, and have been for almost 1 billion years. This likely sounds like a utopia, and in a sense it is. However, now that all that could be achieved has been, there is no reason left for us to exist. There are no new stories to be told, nowhere to progress, and nothing to look forward to, because nothing can die. We are doomed to spend eternity existing without any purpose. Okay? I was born around 6.2 billion years ago on the original Mars, shortly after it had been terraformed to support Earth life. This was only a few millennia after the unknown cure for death was created. By that time, the concept of death was only told by those who lived before it was stopped. Many new generations believed death was nothing but a fairy tale and only grew more mythical as new generations severely outnumbered the old generations. The oldest generations were known as the ancients, and for every billion people from new generations, only one ancient who had witnessed death existed. Even they began to be regarded as a myth eventually. By the time I was born, many people were tired of life and sought ways to end it. Some tried for hundreds of years to figure out how to include permanent, dreamless comas, only to inevitably wake up a few days later at most. It seems whatever method was used to induce sleep, something unknown would stop its function shortly after DNA was analyzed then DNA was analyzed and found a stop regarding around 30 years of age. Ancients were the only people you could find who looked older than 30, having been beyond that age when death was eliminated. The first major crisis as a result was not the overpopulation of humanity, but rather bacteria. Not even microorganisms were dying anymore, and so as long as they had nutrients, they would continue to reproduce indefinitely. Around 200 years after death ended, scientists figured out how to stop bacteria from being able to reproduce on its own using form of radiation that was applied to the entire planet. Some unaffected bacteria was stored to be grown under controlled conditions. But now, bacteria across the globe no longer grew on its own. Cancer was also stopped by a similar method that destroyed it. Ability to grow using constant radiations. Eventually, a more permanent solution was implemented by relocating the all organisms that would simply continue to overpopulate. Unchecked to black holes. Yeah, that's clever. Eventually, black holes would become dumping grounds for anything we found to be problematic. During my time on Mars, I came to realize that the value of our lives was non-existent. Imprisonment was the only deterrent to crime, and was not a very effective one as that. People would outright ignore who was not in their immediate circles, no matter their circumstances. Society was unified and at all, as a result, was adopted more of a free or fundamentally resulting in wars and anarchy. Inflation and currency skyrocketed, and eventually physical currency all but disappeared, replaced almost entirely by barter systems, mostly based on work directly exchanged for goods. Wait a minute. They did this on everything. Oh, wait a minute. What the hell? What? My brain can simply not know what this is, okay? This is weird. I can't understand it. It's weird. Not that I'm stupid, but it's weird. Well, although we were immortal, and our souls never died no matter how malnutrition or damaged they became, however, we still felt every pain from hunger, thirst, disease, and injury. Also, another interesting phenomenon was that if a person's body was destroyed, the cells of the body would slowly form back together. The more extensive, the longer it took. Even atomization had no effect on stopping the regeneration of those who attempted suicide this way, such as dropping themselves into molten iron, would take decades to reform, and said that they could feel everything that was happening to them in extreme intimate pain when they were able to speak again. Okay, that's weird. Okay, I'm gonna leave a link at the description about this. Wait a minute. Well, but let's continue. So let me copy it. The second wave froze its passengers, freezing. Wait a minute. With no motivations to do anything beyond studying or raising a family, depression swept over humanity. Eventually, our own solar system was overpopulated and desperate for a solution. This was when the ships were built to carry people to neighboring stars. The trips would take hundreds of years, and insanity was almost guaranteed. The first wave didn't even make it. We didn't even make it 5 years into the trip, and they had all gone insane in detention. The only to drift the endlessly through freezing, suffocating space forever. The second wave froze its passengers, relying entirely on an AI to deal with potential problems. Of the 26 sent, 14 were lost in the first 70 years. At this point, the fundamental problems had to be dealt with before any further attempts to branch out could ever be made. That was when the huge campaign was launched to cure insanity and develop faster than light travel. The campaign involved massive amounts of resources to bring in people who were devoid of motivation from having lived long lives without purpose. I was nearing 5,000 years of age, when I was on the space station Galactus with my wife and parents. I had done a great many things and obtained many skills in my time, and was a high-level engineer who had helped build several of the ships that were involved in those first two failed treks to reach other stars. Well, that's why they failed, because you were in them. Okay, that's just a joke. Whatever. Weird, creepypasta person, writer, future supposedly person. I really think this is fake. Okay, beyond being fun, this is fake. Now let's continue. Finally, sometime. Wait a minute. I forgot one paragraph. I immediately began training on physics, and a few hundred years later, I, along with a sizable chunk of population, was working on breaking the laws of the universe to allow us to reach distant stars in the same time it took us to get from Earth to Mars. And suddenly a new purpose was upon us for a time. Many of us were happy looking brightly towards the future. Finally, sometime a couple thousand years later, a couple thousand years later, a discovery on exactly how gravity as well as dark matter worked, along with clear ways to manipulate them, finally gave us a means to bend space and time along a path. Now it would take only a few days to reach the nearby stars, with future projections being able to take this new technology much further to speeds near infinite. Also, at the same time, the interworkings of the brain were mapped and out in so much detail that insanity and other problems with the mind were easily fixed. Just like that. Insanity, you're okay. Now people could stay on track with everything no matter their circumstances. With this we began colonizing our galaxy. In 10,000 years' time, we found countless worlds in our galaxy that supported non-intelligent life. We had originally thought we had only stopped for our own deaths, but it appears we stopped it and everywhere in those worlds, and they teemed with life that could never die as well. At this point we realized that we would eventually reach an end to our papers on this universe, and so we began working at how to reverse this effect of universal immortality. Eventually we did come across other intelligent life, and they had also been suffering effects of never-ending life. For a time we had peace, then unknown as to how it leaked. The secret that humanity caused was brought to others' lives' attention. This sparked a billion-year war, and as they believed that we also had the cure, I spent 3 million years as a prisoner in that war and was smashed to atoms many times for information and experimentation until humanity finally took back the war. They ended the war with peace and ocean for all intelligent life would help seek out a way to bring back death. Okay. Well, why didn't you even have a war? Because, you wouldn't do anything to them because they're dead, they're alive, but they can't die. So why would you even bother getting in a war in that circumstances? Okay? Like, I would be like, we can't kill each other. We can't have a war if you can't kill each other, right? No, you can't. Let's just shoot at each other and then die, and then from atoms and become again alive and kill each other again and do the same for 1 billion years. Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't actually know what type of life would think that, okay? And yeah, this is fake, but it really sounds weird. By this point, despite all advances in preventing suffering, time itself seemed to be a suffering we could not prevent. New generations would have sometimes learned and build families, but after a few hundred years they would end up, like most of our humanity, becoming depressed husks that cared about nothing and did nothing. With no real purpose to drive us, nothing mattered at all. Finally, after 6 billion years after time was since death was stopped, We colonized the entire universe. Yay! We made a massive black hole at the center of it, and then placed all galaxies in an orderly fashion of orbiting the center. This prevented both heat death and the possible collapse of a never-ending expanding universe. Well, eventually minds found themselves split on a possible solution. Time travel had been possible for a few billion years now, but all attempts to fix anything using it only created split timelines, in which this one still existed. As a result, continued research into time travel as a method of repairing death was abandoned. That was until a group of scientists discovered a way to send back a message that could be inserted into a mind that would likely be interpreted by the mind as an imagined story. They claimed to have tested it several times, monitoring for the birth of new timelines, and they reported that none were ever detected. The information became universal, and suddenly factions of intelligent life everywhere formed. Some had the belief that they could fix everything, and some believed it would destroy everything as a result in not preventing the loss of death. Meaning we would still be alive but suffering forever, and without any way to at least prevent that suffering. In the end, the group that was against the method prevailed and made anything to do with time alteration illegal and punishable by exile to the center. I was part of this group at the time. I didn't want my family. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, I've lost it. Wait a minute. I didn't want my family and people I loved to suffer if it failed. That was until a few million years later a discovery was made. While most of humanity stayed in the universe, some attempted to leave, believing there might be something beyond it despite all of our most advanced technology, telling us that this universe was that was kind of nothing. A door was shut by the wind. Whatever. It was believed that those people would be lost forever, traveling endlessly into darkness and false hope, until one day they returned. By this point, we had travel capabilities that allowed us to travel from one end of the universe to the other in minutes. When the group that left the universe returned, they said that they had been traveling at the speed of okay, that's starting just to read, okay? For almost 1.5 million years, when they came across something that shouldn't exist. At first, their story sounded like somehow they had gone insane again, despite our cure, and there having been a reported case. Why am I speaking like this? Why? Okay, you know what? That's it for today's video. I'm bored. That's it. I'm tired. I can't do this anymore. So that's it. There's a link for this story in the description. There will be a part 2 to this. Yay! So yeah, no, there won't be a part 2 to this. Okay? No, you go read the story. 'Cause yeah. I like giving some funds to Reddit people or something. I have got no funds myself or either, but whatever. You know what? I'll be reading the next the other parts of the story in a bit. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like it and subscribe. Goodbye.